Welcome to the Milford Board of Selectmen meeting, March 12th, 2018. We're going to go right into the signing of the warrant.
Move, Mr. Chairman.
I would second that as well, Mr. Chairman.
Also vote in favor, and that's unanimous. We also have to approve minutes of February 26th.
Move, Mr. Chairman.
I would second that as well, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll vote in favor and make that unanimous. And now I'm going to have John Fernandez come up with Sierra Naturals for our first public hearing regarding the host community agreement.
Yes,
John,
thank you.
how are you?
I'm doing well, and to what you said, I'm here with Michael Dundas, who is the
Welcome, Michael.
Good to see you again.
principals of Sierra Naturals, which formerly was Sage. No reason to go into the explanation for the change in name, but there's been a slight change in name. And we're here relative to the host agreement. You will recall that under the new statute, there is a provision for a host community agreement for a medical and/or adult marijuana establishment of any kind. And as we discussed at town meeting, or in anticipation of town meeting, Mr. Dundas and Sierra and the principals wanted to do a host agreement that provided for $250,000 on a yearly basis. And the agreement can be for 5 years, and that's what the agreement has been provided for. And my understanding is you have the relatively straightforward agreement that we had prepared with Attorney Moody, with input from Attorney Moody, and it has been available for your review. And if there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
It's the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. This is pretty straightforward. It's consistent with what Representative Fernandez, Attorney Fernandez, sorry, it's an old habit.
Well, etiquette-wise, you can go by that title. For
I don't think that's wise.
I'm sorry, John.
That's okay.
Attorney Fernandez represented at town meeting. It's what members stood in support of from the town meeting, and this is consistent with what our legislative body approved in a nearly unanimous fashion. So I would immediately move to approve that, especially given the fact that our town council has reviewed it and they've made back and forth changes. And so I'm perfectly comfortable with what I'm reading and what I've seen and what they've come to agree to.
And before I second that, Mr. Chairman, if I could, Mr. Dundas, I'd like to say thank you very much for being a man of your word. You know, you made some promises to the community. You stood by them, and we greatly appreciate that. And I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
And before I vote in favor, I just want to, just for the people watching, for a reminder, the payment amount is for $250,000 paid each year at $62,500 each for each quarter per year. So just to make that known, I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. And Mike, again, this Mike took the words out of my mouth. Really appreciate you being a good corporate neighbor. We look forward to you being in Milford for a long time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
We have
we can sign that.
execution agreements for you, and honestly, we just set it up with an authorization for the chair to sign, which is typical.
Okay, why don't I do this? Why don't I make a motion, just a second motion, that we authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
I would second that.
What we can do is have two signed, and what we'll do is, I'll take it with Mr. Dundas to have it signed, and I think Jerry's upstairs and just has a place for approved by town council, so it's clear that he did, but he did represent that. He's seen it. I have it in an email, and I think he's told you guys.
Just have to finish.
And I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous.
Thank you. Did you authorize the sign?
Yes.
Because he did.
Yes, he did already, yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Have a good night. Next, Town Administrator's Report. Rick?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two items tonight. One, I just want to update the board on the town council search. As the board knows, we received 11 letters of intent. Attorneys Laura Mann and Jed Nossel are our selection committee, review committee. They reviewed the applications. They then narrowed the field to 5 candidates to be interviewed. The interviews were held on March 7th, last week. They have now forwarded to the board the names of 3 candidates they feel are all qualified for the position. The next step in the process would be for this board to schedule the final interviews. So I want to thank Jed and Laura for all the work they did. It is most appreciated, and I think they feel they have brought forth 3 very qualified candidates for this board to consider for that very important position.
That's great. Rick, if I can say that, in her letter to you, she also mentioned she thanks us
Yes.
You and the board for the honor of serving as chair of the search committee. And I just want to say that the honor was ours.
No
Hopefully,
question.
Can we send a letter out just to formally thank her? Laura's a class act, and her and Jed both.
Yes.
Took this on head-on without any hesitation and without any, actually, this is the only correspondence or communication we've even had from the search committee to the board.
That's
And
correct.
that's exactly what we wanted with looking for a position like this, so.
Okay. And one other item, Mr. Chairman, just an update on the Middle School East sale. We have prepared and forwarded a purchase and sale agreement to the attorney for the purchaser of the building, Lobuser Corporation and Kevin Lobuser. I have spoken with their attorney today. They are in agreement with the purchase and sale agreement that was forwarded to them. The next step would be to have that agreement signed by the parties. We are on track to complete the transaction as per the guidelines in the original requests for proposals that were posted and sent. We are anticipating and looking to schedule a closing date probably mid-April or somewhere in there. So everything is on track. I think the parties are in agreement, so we should be ready to move forward. And that's all I have for a report tonight.
Any questions?
I'm sorry.
Just a comment, actually two comments. One, I'm glad you said that about Laura and Jed. I'm glad that, they were able to review the candidates. And as I understand, they have highly qualified candidates from their note and from discussions with Rick. My understanding is, Rick, both you and Jerry sat in on the.
We sat in but did not participate.
Right, so you listened.
Correct.
And so, no, it looks positive, and I'm looking forward to setting up that schedule, maybe under old business. We try to figure out some dates, or let the chair propose some dates, and we'll get that going. I don't know why we would want to delay it, why we have people that are interested.
Exactly.
We would move quickly.
All
The oth-
three candidates have been notified and are willing to move to the next step.
And with the purchase and sale, is it helpful to you that if we do the same thing as we did here and authorize the chairman of the board to sign on behalf of the board, the purchase and sale agreement?
Absolutely, that would expedite.
Okay, let's.
Absolutely.
I'd be happy to, I know this is off agenda, but it's part of the town administrator's update. We want to keep that ball moving forward. I don't know why we wouldn't do it, given that town council and their attorneys are working out the details. It's consistent with what we voted on in the past, so I would make a motion to have the chairman of the Board of Selectmen sign on behalf of the board any purchase and sale agreement related to Middle School East, just to keep the process moving forward.
And if I could, Mr. Chairman, real quick, before I second that, is that there's been some talk around the community of how they feel that the school was sold for a sale. I want the community to understand the amount of money that Mr. Lobuser is going to invest in this property to make it, a desirable piece of property in downtown Milford. It's going to be huge. And so, yes, did we agree to sell him the building for what we did? Yes, we did. But he's going to have a huge investment to make this property, not an eyesore in the center of town, but something to be proud of.
I appreciate that, Mike.
The other thing I want to add to that, because it shouldn't be lost while we're bringing that up, the fact of the matter is, there's a municipal bid process. We went out to municipal bid. We advertised in the Beacon and
Central Register.
Central Register.
Central Register.
and the Milford Daily News on 2 occasions. So for those people that were interested in picking up bid packets, and my understanding is 12 people did.
There are a number of people, correct?
But
one returned.
One returned.
Correct.
So I'm comfortable that we followed the process outlined by Massachusetts general law, and the value of the building is determined by the response we get from the bid package. So,
Again, I would second that motion.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. Any other questions or comments for Rick?
other than thank you for the updates.
Thank
Good
you.
updates.
Thanks, Rick. Going on to old business, town administrator yet again for the approval of the warrant.
Yes, the warrant is ready for the board to sign so that we can post and send to the town clerk to follow the requirements that we need to do in order to prepare for the May 14th town meeting. So the original is here for the board's consideration for signature.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept?
I'll move, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. We can sign that now, just to get that done.
There you go.
Bill, do you have any old business?
No old business, but a matter of, you know what, I can bring it up under correspondence.
Okay. Mike, any old business?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask the Board of Selectmen to reconsider an original vote that we took on the property on Princeton Drive.
Okay.
I can speak for myself, I can't speak for you two gentlemen, but I ran for election not only in school committee, I ran for election of the Board of Selectmen because I want to help the citizens of this community. And it's not my place to put somebody out of their home. And I know for a fact that the family is financially ready to pay any back taxes, any penalties that are owed to the town. And I think it's some people say you're gonna send the wrong message. I don't think we're sending the wrong message. I think we're sending the message to the community, to the citizens of this community, that we're here. We're here and we care. I question how somebody could be 10 years behind in their taxes. I do question that, and I plan as a selectman to look into how something like that happens. But I know the family is whole now, and I just can't, I can't put my head on my pillow at night saying that I took part in putting somebody out of their home, which is possibly the only thing that they have. Lost a husband. Personally, I understand how that feels on the other side. And I don't think, as a board, that's a position, and again, I'm speaking for myself, I don't think that's a position that we want to take. I don't want to take. So I would ask the Board of Selectmen to reconsider. I would ask us to stop the auction, which I believe is Thursday. Okay. I know that the family can go whole as of tomorrow morning. I have a commitment from them. I have a commitment from their attorney, and I would ask that we do that.
Okay. So as far as you know, all the back taxes, whatever it is, it will be paid up tomorrow?
I've been promised that tomorrow by noontime, everything will be paid.
Okay. Bill?
Well, let me say this. Mike is representing the fact that the current homeowner, or the people that were in the rears in taxes, are representing that they got the needed releases from the bank. We know how hard that can be, just working with the bank to try to clear properties. I didn't get into this to throw people out of their homes either. Our obligation is met whether the property goes to auction or the people that owned the home make good on the taxes. So if we can satisfy a goal of letting people stay in their property and the taxpayer being made whole, then I don't know why we wouldn't look to do that. My only caveat to that is we've progressed, and I don't want to sound bureaucratic, and I don't want to let process get in the way. My only caveat to that is I think you're right. We ought to suspend the auction and look to give that property back to the homeowners. And I think we ought to make a motion to that effect with the caveat that Jerry finds a vehicle which allows that to be legal, because we don't have counsel here with us now. So I'm good with that, and that that our council provide a way in which we can keep the homeowners in the property and satisfy the backlog in taxes. Like you said, I didn't get on the Board of Selectmen to throw people out of their homes, and if there's a way to do that and navigate that with council, I'd be happy to make that motion. So the motion is that we look to suspend the auction. We look to find a way legally, that Jerry find the appropriate path legally to clear up the back taxes and let the people keep their homes. I don't know why we wouldn't do that. It's a human thing to do. And if there's a law that gets in the way, Jerry's gonna know that, and Jerry can alert us to that and keep us up to date.
I would second that.
Okay, I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous and just say that, again, as long as everything gets paid up, then you'd have to be a pretty cold person to say we should let a stranger come and buy it if we're gonna get everything back that the town needs to be made whole, so that's the top priority, so. That's unanimous, and thank you, Mike, for bringing that up, and thank
Is
you,
that clear,
Bill.
Rick? I know that's a hard motion. It's really, we're looking for avenues that allow that to happen legally.
Okay.
And if there isn't, Jerry should alert us.
And yeah, then we would have to be back and,
Right.
and most likely reschedule.
Yeah, and we have to
Reschedule the
reschedule a
auction.
meeting,
Yeah, yeah, okay,
right? We could do that too.
yes.
Maybe there's a different hurdle, maybe there's an approach or a different motion that's made.
He'll guide us through it.
Yeah, he can guide us through it. That's what he's great at.
All right. Any other old business?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Bill?
No.
Okay, I do. Rick, could you give us an update on the senior center, both Maureen's office as well as, Marie's office, as well as have we decided whether boulders or a guardrail? That building's now been hit a couple of times, and I just didn't know where we were. I meant to talk to you about that yesterday.
First, on the office itself, we do have a quote. We're just pretty much finishing up specs to go out
Okay.
to bid. It looks like it will be less than 50,000, so we will be able to go out and get request quotes.
Okay.
So we want to do that as quickly as possible. It's my understanding, once we do that, we can bid and then use the liability fund so that we don't have to wait. There should be, hopefully, or there may be, I shouldn't say that, there may be an insurance claim. I'm not 100% sure on that.
we're still waiting.
If the driver had insurance or did not. But we need to get the building fixed. We can't wait.
And we have to protect it from being hit, what, a third or a fourth time?
Yeah, so I have spoken with my facilities director, we've spoken with Scotty. I think we may look to boulders if that's the way to go.
Okay.
It seems it to me.
Make it look nice with the landscaping. So that would probably be the approach we would take. If there's some reason we can't, then we would do bollards, much like we have outside here that we did.
And I
when
would
that got
hope
struck.
not. I would rather see stone and representing our community, the granite.
Granite, I was gonna say.
Right,
granite,
so-
Right, yeah.
So I don't know why we wouldn't, in keeping with landscaping all around the area, when we look to create barriers to keep our employees safe, which is the goal here, right? This isn't a theoretical. We've had employee pinned to the wall with a car on the other side of that wall. Only but for a lot of luck and a lot of grace did that person not get severely injured or die in that process. So I wanna make sure that from this board, there's no barriers that we have in front of you, Rick.
Okay.
To immediately address safety issues. And, the only thing that strikes me is that we're gonna do a bid process to try to get some boulders.
Oh, no,
we're
no, no,
talking
no,
about-
no, I'm sorry, maybe I did.
Is that the repair?
That's for the repair
Good,
itself.
good,
I'm
good.
sorry, no,
All
no.
right.
That
was
we can do
confused.
in-house.
Yeah, that we can do
No,
in-house.
no, no.
Boulders are free.
That is strictly,
All right.
Bowlers in Milford.
that is strictly for the,
Woodland School.
the repair to that section of the building. There, we have to go out on a bid
No,
process.
understood. Yeah,
Okay.
we've gotta
But
repair
the
it.
boulders, no, we will do.
All right.
And just
And
do.
there's plenty of rocks around by somebody.
I would hope.
Yeah, I would think. Okay.
Woodland
If you need
School,
anything, I just want to make sure that this board, through its votes, are not in your way to resolve a safety issue.
No.
And if you need a vote, please ask us.
No, I don't think we
Okay.
do. I
All
don't
right.
think we do.
Very good.
No.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business, seasonal club license renewals. Maspinock Rod and Gun Club on McGill Lane and the Sons of Italy Dramatic and Sportsman Club at 55 Depot Street. Their club licenses need to be renewed.
Move, Mr. Chairman?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. Mrs. Knowlton from the Greenleaf Garden Club sent us a note. On behalf of the Greenleaf Garden Club, I'm requesting permission for the plant sale to be held on May 19th, 2018, from 8 until 12 noon at Kiwanis Park. We would also like to post a sign. Sincerely, Margaret Knowlton.
Yeah, with the way the weather's going, I'm hoping they don't get a snow day, May 19th, but no, I would motion to approve.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. We also have correspondence from citizens from Milford. This is their annual and fourth annual Beautification Day, which is set for April 28th, 2018. This is once again organized by citizens from Milford and the Upper Charles Trail Committee. We're hoping for another 100 volunteers to come out and clean up the streets of Milford. The event runs from 9 a.m. through 1 p.m., and we meet in the parking lot across the street from Sacred Heart Church on Route 16 in Milford. I'm asking for the Board of Selectmen's approval for this event. Also, I'm extending the invitation to Selectman Buckley, Selectman Walsh, and Administrator Rick Villani. The past few years, you have joined us in the cleanup, and it was greatly appreciated, and we did join you, and Amy, you're here. I don't know if there's anything, do you need to come up and you want to just give a little plug? I mean, the three of us have helped you in the past. We'll be there again, I'm sure, if we can. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you. No, we're looking forward to it, the 4th annual on the 28th. We're ready to go. I've reached out to Paul Mazzucchelli at the, for the Board of Health for Republic Services to donate some bags and vests and gloves and all that. I'm hoping for some really good quality ones, because last year we had some not as good, cheaper bags, and they didn't, there's a lot of stuff that we're picking up that's really heavy, and so I'm hoping for some good supplies for that, and we're planning on having the prisoners come out from Worcester County Sheriff's Department Thursday and Friday before, and we'll provide them lunch, and they will clean up Dilla, Cedar, some of the main streets.
That's great.
So we're hoping to, with a lot of bags of trash picked up last year, so it was good, and I really appreciate you coming out and helping. And an invitation was extended also to Senator Fatman and Representative Murray.
Yeah, and they were there as well.
Yeah, they were there last year.
That's
And
right.
Representative Murray said he was coming,
Great.
and he was going to do Water Street, so,
Thank you for organizing this.
yes.
Thank you for organizing this. I don't know any better thing that citizens for the community can do to help but pick up trash and beautify the town. It's as pure a project as anybody could come up with, so thank you for hosting it and doing all the work behind it. People don't realize all the work behind it. The citizens from Milford, depending on the votes and depending on how things go, are sometimes the brunt of targets, but I would tell any group organizing that if they can participate in beautification days, and if they can participate in citizen forums, if they can participate in half the things that citizens from Milford have done, they should be very proud. So I'd encourage those people, rather than take shots, that to do half the work you're doing, and
Thank you.
that would be impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, Bill. Okay, I don't think there's not a vote. That was just informational. Okay. Next, we have a proposed zoning bylaw amendment regarding Middle School East, and we need to vote to remand this back to the planning board for a public hearing. Are there any questions or concerns with the draft amendment?
No, this amendment looks to be consistent with what the developer has proposed in terms of two alternatives. First alternative is to try to save the building, and I would encourage that if it's possible. I know 2/3 majority at town meeting is an awful high hurdle. I hope folks understand that by right, he's allowed to purchase that building, tear it down, and put a commercial building in its place because of zoning, but I hope that the town will support this, and I would vote to remand to planning.
Before I second that, Mr. Chairman, Selectman Buckley makes a great point, is that some of the conversation around the community is people look at that have gone to school there, they look at the main building.
Yeah.
The old St. Mary's Church. I've had people even say to me, make sure they don't take the Latin cornerstone out of the top left-hand side. And what Mr. Loberser did with the design was he encompassed the old section of the building, which I think is really gonna be important to the people in this community, particularly the people that went there to school, back in the day. So I would second that motion.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. Next is proposed zoning bylaw amendment for Nicoletta Preparis for solar energy systems, and there is a memo from Liz Mainini, the PE over at Garrier and Howland, asking again for this article that we vote to remand it to the planning board for a public hearing.
Move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I'll also vote in favor, and that's unanimous. Next, Celebrate Milford is, I'm sorry?
Who was that?
Where's that? No, this is their third year now?
I think it is.
I think it's this third year. Always a great celebration. They're looking for a wine and malt license on, let's see, they have May 19th with a rain date of Sunday, May 20th.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move and hope that, I'd like to also add the hope that you'll also enter into the dunk tank again. My grandson and I had a lot of fun throwing softballs at you, by the way.
I know. I actually raised a lot of money sitting in that.
Good, good. But no, I'm happy to make the motion to approve this request.
Before I second, we never know, we might be throwing snowballs at you.
Yeah.
That's all right. The water was pretty cold last year.
I second that.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous.
If
They're
I may-
also looking,
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I jumped the gun.
oh, no, that's all right. They're also looking for a permit to obstruct. This is the youth parade to kick off Celebrate Milford on the 19th as well, with a rain date of the 20th. The parade to commence at 10 a.m. They assemble at 9:30 at Stacy's School Loop, march up Spruce Street onto Congress and down Walnut Street, and it concludes at the Memorial School Loop.
So they need both a permit to obstruct and a parade permit. I'd be happy to make a motion for both of those.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. And they also are looking to have a banner to advertise Celebrate Milford from April 21 through May 21st, and that'll be at Main Street near the intersection of Central Street.
Across the road, like the Chris Santa Parade.
Yes, I believe so, yeah. You gentlemen comfortable with that?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. So is that a motion?
that's a motion.
Second.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. Okay, next is, wait a minute, we did the one-day, oh, we have to do the one-day entertainment license.
thought
See,
you were
Rick, I
going
did
there.
miss one.
That's all right.
Can we also have a one-day entertainment license for Celebrate Milford?
Move, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. Next, there was an open meeting law violation filed by Sergeant James Herron against the Milford Board of Selectmen.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board refer the 226-18 open meeting law complaint by Jay Herron to the chair, interim town council, and the town administrator to respond to the complaint on behalf of the board.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous. Next is the senior center awarding a bid for automatic doors. Rick?
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chairman, this is a project that the Commission on Disability, Sue Clark, myself, and others have undertaken. This includes the door to the entranceway that isn't working properly. And it also includes the 3 bathroom facility doors. If you've been in there, they're very heavy, and someone in a wheelchair or someone with crutches or someone with some type of physical disability, it's very difficult to get in and out. So we did request quotes. We have 2 quotes in front of you. Obviously, we are recommending to the board that you award the contract to in and out automatic doors. It is the lower of the 2 amounts. And this is a project that I think we can get done. It will obviously be ADA compliant.
Great.
And I think it's much needed, both the front door and the interior bathroom doors. So we'd ask the board to vote to award the contract to in and out automatic doors as the low qualified bidder.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I'd like to thank Rick and the Commission on Disabilities for always looking to improve and make things easier for our seniors and those that are disabled. I think with technology, I think we'll be revisiting these periodically, not just doors, but other things that can make it easier, that would take advantage of automation and technology. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we accept the low bidder in and out automatic doors at a value or a quoted amount of $10,000.
Before I second that, Mr. Chairman, is being involved in the different fundraisers, I shouldn't say fundraisers, the events that go at the senior center like we are, like Thanksgiving, and you see the amount of seniors that building services, on a daily basis. It's, we're so lucky to have it, so lucky to have it. I hope more people will continue to take advantage of it. I know that just hitting a milestone myself, I got a phone call wishing me a happy birthday. So I guess
AARP's calling
I guess I'm a
next.
member now, so, but anyway, I would second that motion.
I'll also vote in favor, make that unanimous. Yeah, Mike, now you're gonna get the Elder Milfordian mailed to you every week.
That's right.
Every month, excuse me.
And the bus route.
You're 50 now?
Next agenda item is the job description for the Human Resources Director.
Mr. Chairman, what I did is put together a draft for the board to consider. I looked at a number of area towns. I know this board is interested and has stated on numerous occasions they would like to investigate having a human resources director. I'd ask the board to review the job description, and if all is in order, I would look to move that I be able to go to the personnel board at their next meeting to get the position rated and evaluated under the salary scale.
Okay, great. What's the pleasure of the board?
I've had the opportunity to review it, and I'd appreciate if board members haven't dug in or would like some changes. I'm going to just test the waters a little bit and say, number one, the work seems to be the right work. To help conduct interviews, to work with training for town officials as required by federal and state law. There's a bunch of very important laws that human resource can help guide and develop the training topics for. Administers work compensation. I know that work is scattered a little bit right now. And we want to bring that into one place, creates and implements and manages effective employee wellness programs. There's a host of things. I think at the size of this community, we call it a $100 million operation. It's actually much, much more than that. It's a $100 million budget. But when you looked at if you were to dollarize our assets and put those together, it's well in excess of probably 10 times that. So with that said, I'm comfortable with this, so I'll try it and make a motion. If others would like to change, I'll respect that, and we can delay it by a meeting. But I'll make a motion that we approve the Human Resources Director job description and allow Rick to do the work that he needs to do with the Personnel Board in order to set salaries and follow the bylaws.
Respectfully, Mr. Chairman, if I could ask that we could put it off till the next meeting?
No problem. I'll withdraw my motion. I wanted to test it just to see.
Thank you.
No
Just a
problem.
little more time.
That's
just
fine.
to-
No
I have
problem.
Any questions about it, so thank you.
Next is the Town of Milford Local Building Inspector job posting. Rick?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's very similar to the last posting. The difference, though, is that it is now a salary full-time position, so the salary range on the top page, which is the ad that would go into the Milford Daily News and to some of the building publications.
Great.
So I would like to do it as quickly as possible without, hurting the application process itself. I'd be looking to try to get this done by April 9th if possible. That would be the first.
Yeah, you did include the timeline.
Yeah, the timeline is there also. The job description is the same job description we've had and been all taken care of by the Personnel Board. So I'd be looking for the board just to hopefully adopt this. If there's any changes, I'd welcome your input. But I would like to get moving by way of publication as soon as possible.
I went through everything. I'm comfortable with it. Bill?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I was clear on what I thought I heard, that the Personnel Board has also looked at this, had the opportunity to
As
provide.
I know we're fine there,
Okay,
yes,
good.
yeah.
All right, yeah.
I'm gonna send it to them tomorrow, assuming this board decides to go forward, so that
Okay.
they will have it
Okay.
also.
But it's not the beginning of discussions on the topic. I'd be happy to make a motion to approve both the timeline and the job description.
And just to be clear, to Selectman Buckley's point, the Personnel Board has given it their blessing.
I believe they've given this job description their blessing. Yeah, I will double check that, yes.
Okay, all right. That being said, as long as you're gonna confirm it, Rick, I will second the
Sure.
motion, but please.
Yeah,
be
no,
good.
I'm going to send everything to them so they
Thank you
have
so
it.
much.
I
Thank you.
assure you they'll have it tomorrow
Okay,
morning.
I would
Yes.
second.
I'll also vote in favor and make that unanimous.
Thank you.
Do either of you gentlemen have any new business?
There was one more.
Is number
item-
11?
One more.
Oh,
item.
I'm sorry. The police chief is looking for,
I'm looking for a vote. I think it's a notification to us, right?
It's a notification. What he's asking is there's one
asking us to authorize.
unpermit
it.
hearing that he would like Town Council Moody to finish. I believe it's in
Oh,
April,
Yes.
and
yeah,
25th.
I'm sorry.
he's asking this board to authorize the retaining of his services just for that.
So we should vote on it just to.
Yeah.
I would,
Formalize
if
the
I would
authorization.
prefer you would, if you could, yes.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion to support Chief of Police Tom O'Loughlin's request that he retain the services of Town Council Moody, who's been involved in this matter, and rather than break that continuity, that to authorize him to retain those services, Town Council Moody.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
And also vote in favor and make that unanimous. Any new business?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of new topics. Last week, there was an issue with Rave Smart 911, where our town hall received a notification in error that that there was a active shooter in the building. First of all, I want to apologize to all the employees who received that, and to their families who would have been obviously concerned for the safety of their loved ones. I've received a couple of emails on the topic, and I'm not comfortable where we stand today that we have enough information on the incident itself, what we've learned, what we're changing in procedure, and how we prevent this from happening again in the future. Errors can be made by humans. I don't want to call out any individual. But there should be a lesson learned from it, and we take away that so that these are reduced or eliminated. This building went through a great deal of turmoil. As I understand it, there were people who were locking their doors, looking for windows to jump out of. It could have caused further injury. There's a risk of injury when people scramble to try to evacuate a building, thinking there's a shooter in the building. I'd like a deeper dive into the incident. Not that a mistake was made, but how the mistake was made. I'd like to understand what we're fixing in terms of our process and procedures, and I'd like assurance that the corrective actions that we put in place will prevent these from happening again, or at least a repeat of the same type of incident. I think we owe that to the community. We owe that to our employees who work in this building, who were unnecessarily alarmed, and rightly so, given the alert. I'd also like to specifically ask that we develop a process should an inadvertent alarm or something be triggered. I think people are entitled to the same type of notification they received when they got the alarm, that this was an inadvertent mistake, because some people that got the alarms were employees, but they weren't in the building. So we couldn't create a list and communicate to all of those individuals that I was assured happened, but I find out that that is not true. That we obviously couldn't get to everybody who got the notification. So I'd like a deeper dive.
That's what I was going to speak to, Mr. Chairman, but I'll let it go with that.
Okay. That too was in my notes, just
Yeah.
to make sure that we touched on.
Right.
I got 5 phone calls in rapid fire that morning. The first one being from my mother, 'cause she's a registrar, and she wanted to know where the 3 of us were and where that notification came from. So people panicked, and I think we have to do that. I think even notifications prior to any testing. I know we do that in my building. The employees are notified prior to. So I think that should be all part of what Bill asked for. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Bill.
There was one more item, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
There was a request by this board to have the police chief look at Safe Schools Initiative and to specifically make our schools off limits and unavailable to people who would want to do the children harm. We want to harden these targets so that people understand that it's not okay, and that we can do better and we will do better. The police chief provided this board with a special operations initiative. What I'd like to do is do 2 things. what I'd like to do is, one, have the chief in as quick as reasonably possible to our next meeting to go through his budget request. Because the chief is just putting a budget request based on our request, right? So he's reacting to our request. When I said I wanted to make the schools the safest place on the planet, I want to make it clear that that's the target. That the target less than that is, that means there's more work to do. So with that, there's two things to do. One, bring the chief in, get a better understanding of that. And number two, alert the FinCom. Like to ask that this board direct the town administrator to alert the FinCom on that package, to also make plans to bring the chief in. What I want to look for, Rick, is any means by which this board, since it's our warrant, can bring the resulting dollar request, whatever that is, rationalized through the FinCom, phased if not phased, all at once if not all at once, so that we escalate the urgency and move this up as fast as reasonably possible through our town meeting process. Again, I'll say the same thing I said the last time. There are too many people, public officials like ourselves in small communities, who repeat the same message over and over again, that they never thought it would happen here. We've seen time and time again it does happen in small communities, and I want to see, and I want to know that we're doing everything possible. So those are my two requests. Alert the FinCom to the request. The FinCom has their process. Let them vet it.
We may need a placeholder on the warrant, and I think we should move on that. When we're coming up on the deadline for that, yes?
We can pass over the deadline and warrant we just voted, but it's ours. We can always
change it.
add supplemental information, I think. Rick, is that accurate? In your
It is the Selectmen warrant.
Yes.
You know, so-
We may have to put out additional information. Government moves slow. I just don't want to be part of the cog that slows down this process. We've had too many instances like this. If we can make our schools harder targets for people who would do children harm, I want to know that we have a special operations team trained specifically. If you look at the information provided by the chief, it is possible that even a multi-town task force SWAT team would take an hour to get here. I don't think any of these incidents have taken an hour.
No.
So
No, and if I-
that's my request from the board.
No, I appreciate that, Bill, and I think this goes hand in hand in what we talked about at the last meeting, and you bringing this up prior to, and the chief submitting that plan, which I actually, at first glance, was excited to see that, for one. I think there are some things that we can phase in. There are some
I agree.
things that we should not phase in.
I agree.
And I think that considering how frugal we are in town and how much money that we've been able to set aside because we're responsible every year with our budgets, but this is something that if there is a plan that the chief submitted and we do approve, we should figure a way for it to be funded. And Mike, I wanted to let you speak too. I don't think this is something that, we should look at as maybe a regular capital ask.
Yeah, it's out of the ordinary. It's out of budget. It's out of schedule, and we tell boards and committees to bring forward their plans over a 5-year period. If something out of the ordinary pops up, I want to say this is one of those cases. And basically, what it requires is the hiring of 3 police officers and a police sergeant and some training.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we wouldn't do it. Don't know why we wouldn't react to it. And I think it's just warranted that we bring the chief in, and any of his subordinates that are familiar with the process, and let's talk it through. Let's ask some of the questions that we need to understand, what the officers would be doing when school's not in session. School, to me, I want to make sure everybody understands, is the highest of all of the priorities. I don't want to get into discussions of why the senior center is less of a priority, why this building. What I'm talking about is a phased approach. Schools, for some reason, seem to be a higher target. You can look at what happened last Friday, where there was an incident in a veterans home. It's not that it can't happen somewhere else, and it's not that it hasn't happened somewhere else. But we've got to take priorities, and let's work through those priorities, and we let the chief explain the details.
Mike?
And I agree. I think it's the next step, and I want the general public to know, for those who don't know, when we put on our school committee hats, every single school, when you go through the front door, once school is locked down, you can't get out of the kiosk. So you can be halfway home, realize your son or daughter left their lunch in the back seat. When you go back to school, you're not giving their lunch to them. You give it to the secretary of the school, and they will make sure that it gets down to the classroom. I used as the incident at the high school 2 years ago, I believe it was, at Special Olympics Day. The Patriots player that went into the high school was going to give the awards away. His name wasn't on the list. He didn't get in. We have 2 people at the high school all day long, call them hall monitors, whatever you want. They're literally walking around, checking doors all day long to make sure the doors are locked. We have 2 school resource officers. So I think we do a good job in this community. Absolutely. This is the next step. This is the next step to make sure, to Selectman Buckley's point, not that everybody's important, but we gotta protect our children. And they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable. And so I agree. Let's bring the chief in. Let's look at his plan. Let's see what he has to say to us. But today, this day and age, look at the young woman that was sitting in a library reading a book. You can never have enough protection, and it's an awful thing to say that in this day and age, but I would agree. I think this is the next step, and let's move forward.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Rick, is that enough of a consensus?
I think so, yes. I think I have the board's intent here, yeah.
Okay.
Any new business, Mike?
I don't know.
Okay. Rick, I was notified by a coach at Express Cheer on Central Street. Her girls are looking for an avenue to volunteer. It's something that the coaches are pushing for the girls to do in addition to their practices. And because their vicinity literally right across the street from the senior center, they were hoping that maybe we could find them some volunteer opportunities at the senior center. So if I can forward you over that email, and maybe we can put her in touch with Sue Clark. I just think that, because of the vicinity, it makes sense. So if she could use them in any way, I know they're looking forward to, the high school girls are looking forward to working with the seniors if it is possible. So I know Sue's usually very welcoming to volunteers. I don't want to make more work for her, but I think it might be a nice opportunity, especially when they can literally cross the street.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so I'll follow up with you either
Perfect.
tonight or tomorrow morning.
I'll follow up with Sue.
All
Yes.
right, thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to correspondence. Is there any correspondence that we want to address? I do want to mention, Rick, you sent a memo regarding Wendy's drainage issues and the barrier posts.
Yes.
I don't know if we want to touch on that. Obviously, if people have been driving down Diller Street after a storm over the last few months or years, they see pretty much a pool of deep water. And it's been wreaking some havoc on Route 85 with people making illegal left turns and everything crossing 4 lanes of traffic. Is there anything you want to just update us on?
Again, Wendy,
Memos,
I think we have Wendy's attention. Unfortunately, the meeting's supposed to be tomorrow on site. We may have to move that a few days down the road. Unfortunately, I want to thank Mike Dean, Town Engineer, Matt Marquardt, and Larry Duncan for vigorously pursuing this in the last several weeks. And regarding the barriers, Scott has provided a couple of proposals. They're very similar for Route 85 or Cedar Street. So, again, I wanted the board to see that memo.
No, it's a very good
I think
memo, too.
First step, get the drainage issue resolved so that it doesn't happen again. And the second step would be to implement some type of barriers for some distance on 85, excuse me. Yeah.
Great.
So for the benefit, just Rick, if you could bring me up to speed, we've had discussions, but for the benefit of people who are watching at home, it's my understanding that responsibility and liability lies solely with Wendy's.
That's my understanding. It may be an issue of just not proper maintenance.
Right. So it's not a case where it's a town road, town is responsible for making sure that doesn't flood, but instead it's a private private road,
Town
private
engineer, I
entrance.
think, has confirmed that.
Okay, that's my understanding as well. And for the benefit of everyone who didn't get everything so far, when that road floods and it's barricaded, people have no way out of that.
Right.
And it violates site plan. As soon as that is blocked, it violates the site plan.
There's no question, they need two
And,
egress.
and creates a safety situation, because now, if people were to exit Wendy's, they would be exiting on 85, crossing 4 lanes of road, and it's, to quote the chief, one of the safest, unsafe areas that you could possibly do that at. So, you know, I know that they've been largely unresponsive. I know that they were supposed to meet tomorrow. That's the first headway we've gotten in a long time with them.
Yes.
But I'm hoping that it's clear to them that the town can't allow an unsafe situation. If they can't maintain that drain and pump that or otherwise handle that water, that when that closes, Wendy's closes, because we're not gonna allow exits out of that across 4 lanes of 85. I just wanna make sure we're all clear on what might have to happen there to get their attention. Great, thank you. Thank you, Rick, for
And
bringing that up.
it's simple.
And Will.
Correct me if I misunderstood it. It's really just a matter of a catch basin that's not maintained properly on their property.
At first blush, yes, so, but I think the engineers have to get further involved, and their facilities director now is going to also be on site. Temporary solution may be some type of pump, but that is only a temporary
Right.
solution.
Or
We
it's a
need,
pump that isn't working properly.
we need a permanent solution, so, yeah. I'm not
It looks
sure.
like a cereal bowl on a rainy day.
It's, yeah, I've gone by it when it's been in that condition, yes.
But I think we would all agree, we need to make sure that they get the message that it's unacceptable.
I think they now have that message, but we need to stay on them and follow through and get it resolved.
Thank you.
Correct.
Because it's not like a local franchisee. I believe Wendy's, I think what we were told is it's corporate owned.
It's
So
corporate. We've
you're
now
not
reached the
dealing
co-
with our local, like
Right.
the McDonald's.
We've reached
and
the
Burger
corporate
King.
level now,
Right.
so that,
Thanks, Rick, for
Thank
staying on top of that.
Thank you.
And that also goes in, my last part of new business was, what is the plan for tomorrow? Are we, if you do close town hall, will you be doing it prior to Gene and everyone getting in their cars and trying to drive over here?
oh, absolutely.
Can you announce now?
It may be done tonight,
Okay.
depending on how long we are here.
All right, great. I know it's gonna start at 11, or shortly
I
thereafter.
made, the announcement is
18
queued,
inches, I mean,
I
what's
know,
the
but I don't
big
want Gene driving in it.
the announcement is queued up and
All right, ready to go.
ready to go. It's one button. I could do it
Keep the
from,
slippers on.
I could do it from here if I had to.
And just some public service, since this storm is coming in tonight. Trash will be delayed by a day.
That's correct.
Milford schools are closed
As
tomorrow.
of
Couple
right
of
now.
local banks are closed also
so,
already, so.
And what else is there that is impacted? Trash?
I think voter registration will be pushed off a day if town hall is closed tomorrow, so I think it goes from Wednesday to Thursday, if I'm correct. I think there's a service announcement
And then the
also.
only other thing is the chief has already declared a parking ban. And I
9
know
o'clock.
that the snow removal folks are having difficulty with cars on the roads. I just ask that everybody stay off the roads and to remove their vehicles. The parking ban's in effect. We hate to see you get towed. Nobody's looking to tow vehicles. We just want to, you know, let the highway surveyor and his team do the best job they can at moving snow. So hopefully there won't be any, but that parking ban is already in effect, so hopefully there won't be any towed vehicles.
Right, yes, 9 o'clock,
9 o'clock,
tonight,
yeah.
yes.
1 hour.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Prior to taking a motion to going into executive session, I do not want to take a motion to adjourn this evening. We may be coming back into public session. That is dependent upon how things go in executive session. And we could have a very long executive session, so I'm not sure what time that'll be. But I would like to go into executive session, obviously, so if we can make a motion, a second, and a roll call vote, but we're going to save the adjournment. Will definitely, well, let me say this, we will be coming back if for no other reason than to adjourn the meeting. Okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion for the purposes of executive session, to go into executive session to discuss with town council a water rate case, to discuss with town council potential litigation, to discuss in executive session minutes of October 24th, January 8th, pursuant to Mass General Law 30, Section 21, A, 2, 7, and 22, G2.
second that motion, Mr.
And also vote in favor and make that unanimous, and then a roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
I also vote in affirmative, and that's unanimous.